Hey everybody, this is Ken Condon from Riding in the Zone. I want to do a little pre-rider meeting before the next track day, and just to cover a few things in a little bit more depth than what we can do really in the morning session, the morning track day riders meeting that we do. Like I said, there's an awful lot to absorb, especially when you're new to the track environment. So there's a few things that we've been wanting to discuss a little bit more, things that have come up in the past and that we want to see if we can sort of nip them in the bud for the future. And so we're going to talk a bit about flags, and these things will be discussed again at the riders meeting in the morning of the event. We're also going to talk about passing and a little bit about group designations, but let's sort of just go with those simple things. As far as a lot of times I get questions about the schedule is essentially show up and be ready to get your bike teched or inspected about 7 o'clock in the morning. Other details can be found on the ridinginthezone.com website. Also, the Riding in the Zone Facebook group. There's a lot of questions can be answered there. Same with the New England Riders Facebook group. There's a lot of people that are really readily will be able to answer any of your questions that are less formal. Any of the details that you need, go to the website. Let's start right off with flags. Now, the reason we're bringing this up, because we've talked about this, we will talk about it the morning of the event, is that there seems to be some confusion at times. It's pretty rare, but our last event there was some confusion, so we wanted to just touch on it. We essentially use 3 flags. It's that simple. 2 of them will be really familiar to you because they're the same colors that are used out on the street, red and yellow. So the red you may think is stop, but that's not what it is on the racetrack. Yellow is similar to what you would expect on the street, which is caution. There's a third flag is checkered flag, and that's just telling you that your session is over. And then it's time to come in and let the next group come out. So if you think about it, that's as simple as it is. There's 3 flags. But let me talk about them just a little bit. The checkered flag I talked about, when you see the checkered flag, next time you come around at the end, the place where you do come into the what we call pit in, where you come off of the track, next time you come around there, you come off the track. That's all there is to that. The yellow flag, let's talk about that. What that is it just, if you see that all these flags are going to be at the corner worker stations, which that's a responsibility you have to take on the follow the leader session, where you look and see where the flag stations are. They will be holding a flag out so that you can identify where they are. They're not going to be at every corner, but they're at most corners. The yellow flag could be either waving or stationary. If it's waving, it means that the incident is imminent, that it's happening very close to where that flag is, usually the next corner. If it's stationary, that means there might be something on the track, something that's or that if there was an issue with a rider and they're off the track far enough, that the yellow flag will remain out, but it won't be waving. Okay, so pretty simple, really. All you do when you see a yellow flag is you just be cautious. You don't shut the throttle. You don't need to brake. You don't do anything like that. It's just basically expect that there's something coming around the corner that you might not be able to see yet. And just go through cautiously. Make sure that you can deal with whatever there is around the corner. There may be really nothing. There's maybe something, they just want to warn you that there's something unusual going on. The red flag, this one's one where there's something more significant that you need to get off the track. The idea, but not immediately, that we want the group to get off the track the way they would as though they had gotten the checkered flag. The difference being that all the flag stations will throw the red flag, but the incident could literally be a mile away because the track is 1.75 miles long. So there's no need to panic. There's no issue with that. And if there's something going on right in front of you, manage it. But the thing about the red flag is it's just telling you that, all right, we need everybody to get off the track so that we can manage this situation right here. So, and that's pretty much it. When you see a red flag, you come in that next time that you come into that pit in lane, where the place where you get off the track. and that's it. It doesn't matter whether we had some issues last time with people thinking that they stayed on the track and just went slow. No, you have to get off the track. So that's just a really important thing. Red flag means get off the track next time you come around the pit in exit, the exit area to get off the track. So you don't stop on the track, you don't pull off of the track, you just keep coming around at a safe pace and get off the track with the rest of the group. Okay? Now they'll talk more about that at the morning of the event. I want to talk a little bit more about, though, I want to talk about passing, because passing is something that, even with the regular track days, people that do track days all the time, there are bad passes. People make bad choices, and that just happens. The great thing about that is that it's usually not a big risk. I mean, everybody's going the same direction, and they might come a little close to you, and might be a little bit anxiety provoking. You might flinch. But usually it's not a huge deal. I mean, we have very, very rare instances where a pass causes a crash. Very rare. But a lot of attention gets given to it, particularly for street riders. So the non-sport bike days, particularly, we have people flinching and being more uncomfortable being passed on the racetrack. Well, and that's understandable, because on the street, we don't get passed much, especially if we're riding a motorcycle. We tend to be the people doing the passing. But even so, on the street, passing is kind of rare. If you're like me, I don't do a lot of passing, and when I do, it's mostly on the illegal places, and there aren't that many really, at least not in New England. So passing is kind of not a usual skill. Being passed, same thing. It's just not something we're used to. Well, on the racetrack, it's very different. You'll be doing a lot of passing because you can. I mean, everybody's going the same direction. The track is really wide. Why line up behind somebody who's going slower than you want to go when you can just go right by them? It's kind of as simple as that. So you have the opportunity to pass. As far as being passed, there are people in the same group you're in that are going to have a different comfort with speed, and that they're going to pass you. They might be on faster bikes, and so down the straightaway they'll go faster and pass you quickly. But again, we're all going the same direction, and they're going to come by you. Expect it. It's just not a big deal. One problem, though, when you don't start to feel comfortable with this, is that you tend to look behind you. You're always, because the other part of this I want to talk about is mirrors, because you're always afraid of what's going on behind you, as if there's anything you can do about it. You can't control the person behind you. All you can do is control what you do, and your job is to be predictable and stay on your line. It's the passer's job to pass responsibly and safely. So there's nothing you can do by looking behind you or knowing that there's somebody coming up behind you. Absolutely nothing. You wouldn't do anything different, would you? I would hope not. You just follow your line. You just ride the ride that you do. And they will go offline to pass you. That's just how it goes. So relax, look forward. And it directly relates to the mirrors. We don't want you paying attention to what's behind you. You'll be at a pace that's probably a little quicker than, or certainly a brisk street pace, if not a pretty rapid street pace. So you have to be looking well ahead to deal with the next corner. And so we can't have you looking behind you, because your attention must be 100% in front of you. Okay, there's nothing behind you that really should concern you at all. Now, you might hear a bike come up on one side or the other. Whatever. It doesn't matter. You do stay on your line. Be predictable. That's all you need to do. Any of you who've been skiers, is that that it's the passer's responsibility to get by safely. You don't keep looking behind you while you're going down the mountain. There are no mirrors in skiing, as far as I know. So it's the same thing. This is a sport that requires that you look forward. Even on the street, yes, we use mirrors. This is, again, a street versus track thing. When it comes to the street, we use our mirrors very much. It's very comforting. We need to know what's behind us. And we do make choices based on what's behind us. But on the track, there's no choice. You don't do anything different except what you would normally do, which is to ride the line. You stay on the line and be predictable. So you may think that it's less safe to not have mirrors on the track, but it's not. There is nothing behind you need to pay attention to. It would be unsafe if we actually allowed mirrors on the track. There's no track day organization that I know that allows mirrors on a racetrack. Car track days is different. It's just a different situation that they have, that they do monitor and wave past people to pass you. That's not how we do it with motorcycles. So back to the passing, though, there are ways. The complaints we have are people making what we call, generally speaking, bad passes. Well, what's a bad pass? It's usually a pass that's done out of haste. It's done out of sort of barging through at the wrong time. Sometimes it's at the wrong place. Now, what's wrong? Let's describe that. The first thing is that we have certain parts of the track that are no passing areas, and we talk about those at the beginning of the day. Those are no passing areas because they're unsafe for us to pass. So we just are patient and we wait for those sections of the track to get through, and then we can start to set up our next pass. We do still get people attempting or making passes in those areas, and that's just a simple rule that we need you to follow. So pay attention. If you have any questions about where those no passing zones are, then you must ask about that, okay? With Thompson, there's only a few. It's really only a few places, and same with Palmer. Very, very few places where you can't pass. A lot of places that don't make sense for you to pass, even though it might be legal. There's a general idea that when you make a choice to pass, that it needs to be done well before the corner or or after the apex. There's no passing up the inside of a rider. And what we mean by that is, let's say a rider is leaning into the corner and you come up on the inside of them and you stand them up. They own that corner. As soon as they start tipping into that corner, you have to back off. And then but as they come out of the corner past the apex, they're accelerating and straightening their bike. Then you could go up the inside because the corner's done essentially. That they're starting to straighten the bike up. Then you can go ahead and accelerate up the inside of them. So there's no passing from tip in to apex, okay, the middle part of the turn where they start to pick it up. You can pass around the outside of corners, but sometimes that doesn't make sense. But it's an option. It's the long way around. The thing you want to keep in mind, though, is that there are pinch points. There are points where a rider will be closing a door and a time when a rider will be opening a door. You want to always be going through an opening door. When somebody comes around a corner and they go wide and you're on the outside of them, they're going to pinch you, right? They're going to pinch you off and not knowing that you're there. So you have to predict that. But at some point, they're going to peel off toward the entrance to the next corner. Maybe it's a wide turn that goes this way. They're going to go that way, and that's an opening door, and that's your invitation to go through and accelerate. So that's one of the strategies for passing safely, is know when the rider's going to come in on you and close the door, and when they're going to open the door for you. And it's pretty predictable. This isn't brain surgery. It really isn't. So we'll be talking about that in the classroom more, I think, this next time and these times forward than we have in the past. Now, let's see. Why do people do these lousy passes? And because there are other lousy passes, that descriptions, and that is like passing too late. It's a bad judgment. They were committed. They felt like they were committed to pass. They wanted to make this pass now. They've been frustrated being behind somebody, which I'll talk about. And so they're just going through and barge through when they really should have just been patient and waited for a better opportunity. So a late pass, that would be a bad pass. So be patient. That said, make the pass when you can, because otherwise we create freight trains with faster riders grouping up behind the slower rider. Hesitating can be a bit of a problem, but the hesitation really is only because you weren't sure, you didn't plan well for the pass. So if you plan well, if you know the parts of the track that make sense where the door is going to open for you to pass, to accelerate through, then it's not that much of a mystery. And so the hesitation and the late passing is minimized when you know those parts of the track. The barging is also just being rude. I mean, it's just being rude. The people that you're passing, they have helmets on, and when we put helmets on, oftentimes it makes us inanimate. Certainly to car drivers, we know that. But even to other motorcyclists, when we put our helmet on, we're not the father, the wife, the daughter, the son, the person that's got to get to work the next day. We tend to just think about, this object I have to get past, and that has to, aren't going to make good judgment, good choices when you start to think about that person not the potential of you really giving them a lot of anxiety, and kind of ruining their day, possibly. So you have to be cautious about that and be considerate. The other thing about that is that it's easy when you have a lot of horsepower to wait for the straightaway to just drag race, and that's a way to get by. If you've got the power, get by. There are so many better ways and more skillful ways of passing, and we'll be talking about that more in the classroom. You set up passes. Paul Duvall, one of our instructors, says that you have to think about passing as a chess game. Right? It's a chess game. It's a strategy. It's always thinking ahead and predicting and knowing where the next opportunity is, and sort of feeling out your opponent, if you want to look at it that way, the person you want to pass. You know that you're faster than them in one part of the track, and that they slow down a lot at the beginning of the track, of a corner. Then you set them up for that, and you know that if you can accelerate out a little bit earlier, it's earlier, not necessarily harder, because get on harder, you have the risk of high siding if you spin your rear tire. So you be patient about it, but all you have to do is get on the gas just a little earlier than them, and that is enough usually to get that your front wheel past them. And then if anybody shows you a front wheel, let them by. Don't try to repass. If somebody passes you, we really have a no repass rule, that at least wait 2-3 corners before you consider repassing them, because they're faster than you. They passed you for a reason. Unless it was a fast bike on a straightaway and then the rider goes really slow in the corners, then go ahead on by them. Again, maybe they can learn from you by following you on your slower bike. Let's see. So I covered a bunch of things already. Let me look at my notes. So remember, it's the passer's responsibility to go by safely. If we get reports of people saying, "Oh, I just got stuffed up the inside," or somebody passed under the bridge at Thompson, and we want to actually know who that person is. So if you are the victim of somebody passing badly, don't look at it as squealing or tattling or anything. It's something we need to know so that we can educate that person so that they don't do it to somebody else. So if you can give some kind of description of the person that sort of passed you poorly, then let one of the instructors know, and we'll go talk to them. It's not, you won't be told that it was you who reported them or anything like that. It's just that we can't be there and see every incident. Our instructors are going to be circulating on the track probably more in the future than they have in the past, and so, but we can't really police every incident. Now, passing areas, let's talk about that. Straightaways are always, passing areas, but that's usually the drag race situation. Now, if you are on a slower bike and you have somebody in front of you that brakes early, a lot earlier than you, that's another opportunity is to pass them on the brakes. There's risks to that, in that you might then outbrake yourself, what we call it, and that means that you went past your comfortable brake mark where you would normally be on the brakes because you're so concentrating on getting by the rider, that then you go into the corner faster than you feel comfortable. That you have to avoid. So again, it's all about judging distance and speed and closing speeds and all that to know whether you can get that pass made or not. Now, there are other places, usually there are places on the track that we don't want you to pass because they're just unsafe, because there are places where the rider goes from one edge of the track to the next edge of the track too quickly, and for you to sneak by, it would be a barge. We don't want you barging through. So pay attention to where those spots are. I'm not going to go over those now because those will be covered the morning of your event. When you do make passes, give room, right? A close pass, a not close pass to you might be a close pass to somebody else. So give at least 6-10 feet from a person when you're passing them. Let's see. Make the pass as soon as you safely can. All right. So that's an issue that if you don't make a pass, then we get a lot of people piling up behind. And here's another thing. Sometimes we say, well, I tried 2 laps, 3 laps, I couldn't get past that person, or that person kept repassing me. You have an option to take care of that, and that is to pit in or come into the pits or into the lane. Just come off the track, stay on the lane that you lined up near or on, and then go right back out onto the track. That person who was an issue is now half a lap ahead of you, maybe even further, and it's a non-issue. So you have that opportunity instead of being stuck behind somebody and being frustrated to just pit out and then pit in and pit back out, come off the track and come right back on the track. Okay, so you have some power there, and I want you to make sure that you know that that frustration is, you have an option. You don't have to be frustrated. Same with if you're a faster rider and you're coming up on a group of a whole bunch of riders, and it's going to take you a lot of effort to get past these 10 riders who are all clustered up. Guess what? There's going to be 3/4 of the track around that is absolutely empty. I mean empty. So pit in, let that crowd go ahead, go back out, and sure, you'll probably catch them again by the end of the session, but you're going to have like 3, 4, 5 laps all to yourself, and certainly not behind that cluster. So again, you have these options. Let's see. Let me just check my notes real quick. So plan your passes. Know that you have multiple opportunities to pass. If you don't make the pass this time, wait till the next option, the next opportunity. That's how we do it. The expert track riders and racers, we know we can't always make the pass when we want to, so we're patient. We wait, and then there's another opportunity, and that's when we try again. And if that doesn't work, we try again. And then, but you don't barge. You come up with a plan. You have an idea that if you get on the gas a little bit sooner and you line up next to them a little bit, you can go ahead and you can just get that 5 miles per hour faster than them as they exit the corner. That's enough to get by. You don't need 15, 20 miles an hour faster than the rider that you want to pass to get by them. It really is, again, it's a game of chess, not bullfighting, all right, whatever your analogy is. So learn in the classroom about the places, not only the specific places where you can pass and where it makes sense to pass, but also how to pass, and ask questions about this. Passing craft is actually a whole skill that we teach racers. So it's not, it's not difficult, it's not complex, but it is simple, but it's not exactly easy. Okay, especially if you're a street rider and this is a totally new environment. We totally understand that. Keep your eyes forward. Do not be looking behind you. You're just going to make things worse. As much as you think you're going to feel better and safer by knowing what's going on behind you, you're not. You have to just stay on your line and keep your eyes looking forward. Let's see. All right, well, that looks pretty good as far as the passing goes. One other thing I want to talk about is group designations. We've had some issues with that because the non-sport bike days have changed. When we first started this, everybody was new, and so we just designated the what group you were in, slow, middle, fast, by the type of bike you were on. We can't really do that anymore because we have a lot of people on what would be considered kind of slower bikes who are very experienced now on the track because they've been 2 or 3 times, and so that's a challenge for us. So now we can't just put because you're on a cruiser, we put you in that slower group because the motorcycle really doesn't have the ground clearance or the capability of staying with a sportier bike. But so we're kind of challenged with that. We're going to do the best we can getting you into a group that we think makes sense. If we know who you are, that's easy. Oftentimes we don't know who you are because we have 90 people there, and so the instructor will do the best they can to help you. They're going to ask you questions. It's your first track day. You're usually going to go into the slower group. Maybe not. The non-sport bike day is different. If you're the first time there, you might actually end up in the intermediate group. Again, depends on a few things, and the instructors will be asking those questions. So we'll do the best we can to get you into one of the 3 groups. At some point, I think we're going to go to 4 groups, which will make it so that they're 15-minute sessions instead of 20-minute sessions, but it ends up being that there's a little less congestion out on the track. Not congestion, the number of riders out on the track is going to be about the same, but we can match the speed capabilities of the bikes and the riders a little better with a 4th group. We'll look for that maybe next year. So what we will have is instructors circulating around, and they're going to be evaluating what they see. And if they come up to you and they think you should go down in a group, that you're in the fast group, and we want you to go down to the intermediate group, it doesn't mean that, don't take any offense to that. It's just that we're trying to find the best match for everybody. That day, you on this bike, it will be a better match that you're in the slower group. Likewise, you might end up get bumped up into a faster group. Doesn't mean you're the greatest rider in the world. It just means that today, this is what is a better match for us. So keep that in mind. If you have a question if you're in a group and you feel like you should be in a different group, absolutely, we can move you. And you just talk to one of the instructors. Very simple. We have no issue with that. We just want everybody to be as best matched as we can. Big differences in speed can cause some passing anxiety for people, and we understand that. There's going to be that. It's just going to happen, that you're going to sometimes be anxious. But one thing that's really, really important is that you not concern yourself with feeling like you're going to be the slowest person on the track, or that you're going to be in the way. That is, is BS. It just has nothing to do with anything. You ride at the pace that you want to ride at. We expect people to, on the straightaway, go to at least fast highway speeds. If you're struggling to do the straightaways at 70 miles an hour, we would ask that you get it up to a little bit faster, maybe 80. We would assume that you would feel okay going that speed. It's a fast highway street speed on the straightaways. But if 70 is how you feel, okay, everybody's just going to go around you. Don't worry about it. As far as being in the way, you're not in the way if you're in the right place on the track. And we help you with that as far as getting you to know what the line is. And if everybody's on the same line, then we're all in line, and we're not creating intersections. Another point about passing is that the person that's wanting to pass has to deviate from the line. Because if the person that's slower is like awesome, they are perfect on the line, and they're on the line you want to be on, you're the one that has to actually go offline to go by them. And that's part of your planning for your passing, is to know that you're going to be offline, and then you're going to have to deal with the next corner. Also, if you accelerate, you might end up approaching your next corner faster than you have in the past, and you have to be able to then get the bike slowed down so that you can manage that corner. Okay, so I guess that's all I want to talk about with that. It's going to be all the normal riders meeting schedule, all the details about getting around, getting on and off the track, all that stuff will be covered. But this is something I wanted to spend a little bit more time on so that you don't have to, it's not this stuff that you have to absorb on top of everything else the morning of your event. Okay? So, Ken Condon, Riding in the Zone, have a great event. We know you get a lot out of this, and we're so happy that you come and join us, and you end up leaving a better rider. We know that. That's just been proven. And so thanks for doing that. Tell your friends. And everybody learn this whole passing thing, and we're all going to be getting along and having a great time. Okay. Till next time.